Greetings, friend of karmic affinity. Do you know that right at this very moment, there is an invisible enemy silently operating within your body temple without your knowledge? Modern medicine calls it chronic inflammation. It is like a smokeless fire, quietly eroding every bit of life. Energy, clouding the mind, making the digestive system sluggish and weary, disrupting the sanctity of deep sleep, and accelerating the decay of this form toward aging most rapidly. With each passing day, that enemy persistently takes away your vitality without making a single warning sound. However, there is a shocking truth I want to share with you tonight. The long-term aches or the frailty you are enduring are not necessarily the marks of time. In reality, your body may simply have been trapped for too long in a state of constant red alert, causing the flow of life force to be completely frozen. It is time for us to courageously break this cycle of fatigue, to reestablish the warm fire within, release the breath, and find again the radiant source of life that belongs to you. Before we dive deep into this miraculous journey together, if you long to understand your precious internal energy flow in a completely new way, I invite you to gently sow a seed of good affinity by subscribing to the Daily Dharma Light channel so we can walk together on the path of awakening. I invite you to patiently stay with me until the final moment of this stillness, because what you are about to discover is not merely a fragmented technique, but a complete insight into how monks since ancient times have protected their joints and hearts to maintain radiance and flexibility even when old age knocks at the door. There is nothing complicated or distantly mysterious. It is all about very small internal shifts to find your most complete nature again. Now I invite you to take a very deep breath with me to welcome this fresh air into the depths of your chest. Let your soul melt into sacred peace and prepare to begin the most wonderful revival for your own form. Setting: the context of chronic inflammation and aging. Let us step deeper into an inner exploration to understand why invisible pressures possess such terrible destructive power over this form. To truly begin the healing process, you need to recognize the truth that chronic inflammation is not a disease caused by external germs, but rather a prolonged overactivation of the natural defense alarm system right within you. Imagine your body temple like a peaceful village protected by a sophisticated alarm system. But the irony is that the bell is stuck, constantly ringing out piercing sounds, even when no enemy has crossed the border. When the alarm never stops, the villagers, your cells, will always live in a state of panic and cannot perform the work of regenerating or caring for the communal home properly. The consequence of this is not just temporary fatigue. It gradually turns into a prolonged defensive psychology that makes your body accustomed to stress and considers it the only normal state of existence. Thus, we often encounter the paradox of young people carrying a withered soul and a frail body, as if they have endured 100 years of storms, while there are aged monks who radiate a serene equanimity and a life force as bright as the early morning. To identify this invisible enemy, I invite you to review 3 sets of key signs currently manifesting on your body. The first set lies in direct physical expressions, such as dull aches in the joints, a feeling of bloating and indigestion despite eating light, or a heavy weight in every step immediately upon waking. The second set is deep disturbance in the nervous system, expressed through restless nights of insomnia despite exhaustion, being easily irritable over trifles, and a vague anxiety always weighing on your chest. The third set, and most obvious, is the decline in energy and complexion, where the skin becomes sallow, lifeless, and the eyes lose the clear brilliance inherent in a peaceful soul. Understand the profound wisdom that true aging begins long before the first wrinkles appear on your face. When you realize the close connection between a chaotic inner state and the mechanism of chronic inflammation. You will understand that healing the body temple is actually learning how to turn off the false alarm and return to life a space of absolute peace and trust. The journey. From turbulence to the gateway of breath. Once you have identified the stuck alarm bell within your defense system, the most important question now is how to turn off those piercing sounds at the root. We need to frankly admit to each other that most of the damage caused by chronic inflammation actually stems from deep disturbances in the nervous system and the blockage of an anxious mind. This is also why expensive medicines or supplements out there sometimes only soothe the surface and can never touch the primordial root of the problem. You cannot extinguish a fire smoldering from within by only cleaning the layer of ash on the outside of your chest. Instead, you must change the very internal environment that nourishes that flame every second. In the profound silence of ancient monasteries, masters often called this miraculous solution by a very meditative name, the breath of the soothed fire. This technique bears a completely different nuance compared to the forceful or rapid breathing methods often seen in modern trends aimed only at instant energy stimulation. If you have the chance to observe the life of enlightened monks, you will realize a subtle secret. They breathe very little and very sparsely, yet that breath is incredibly deep and still. They breathe so quietly that there seems to be no disturbance of the surrounding air, as if they are breathing with the pure presence of their own souls. This method does not teach you how to seize more oxygen through coercion, but guides you on how to quiet the alarm fire that burns your nervous system every day. I invite you not to rush in, craving an immediate, miraculous result, but to view this as a seed of peace quietly placed in the soil of consciousness, so that from the very stillness of the breath we are about to practice together, you will see your internal life force cleared in the most persistent and radiant way from deep within. Detailed 5-step guide to clearing the source of life. At this moment, I invite you to enter a space of true experience where words will temporarily step back to make room for the most authentic sensations on your form. This is the time we perform the 5 steps of the breath of the soothed fire to begin the process of untying the knots of chronic inflammation. Step 1. Warming the life force center. Gently place your right hand on the lower abdomen, just below the navel. In ancient wisdom, this is the lower dantian, the home of primordial safety. Understand that the abdomen is the coordination center of the autonomic nervous system. When this area is warmed by attention, a peace signal immediately spreads throughout the body. Do not try to control the breath to expand or contract according to a rigid technique. Simply meet the breath as two old friends sitting together. The mere presence and warmth of your hand on your belly sends a gentle message to every cell: we are home and everything is safe. Step 2. Leading the breath downward. In daily life, stress pushes our breath up to the chest and neck, keeping the nervous system on alert. Now, focus deeper on the moment the breath goes out. Imagine each slow exhale is like slowly lowering a heavy shield you have had to carry to protect yourself against the world. As the exhale lengthens and lightens, your energy center of gravity will automatically drop towards your feet, reducing mental turbulence and returning to the body the stability of the tolerant Mother Earth. Step 3. Total release of the diaphragm. This is the sacred bridge between the chest and the abdomen, and also the place where suppressed emotional knots of many years are stored. Whenever you feel anxious or afraid, the diaphragm automatically contracts like a hard stone, blocking the flow of life force. I invite you not to imagine anything too forceful, but merely to grant the diaphragm permission to loosen. Feel the gentle rise and fall at the tip of the heart and let your compassion permeate every tensed fiber. When you stop resisting and allow that contraction to exist, miraculously, it will melt like snow under the morning sun. Step 4. The core technique of the 416 rhythm. I invite you to inhale very gently through your nose and silently count to 4. Then, pause for a very short beat to feel the absolute stillness of the universe. Finally, slowly exhale through pursed lips as if blowing a thin plume of smoke, and silently count to 6. Inhale 4, pause 1, exhale 6. This rhythm is a symphony of recovery that helps soothe the fire of inflammation and nourishes your immune system profoundly. If you find this rhythm too taxing, gently shorten it according to your ability, for true healing never has room for haste or coercion. Step 5. Total loosening of the face. There is a close link between facial muscles, the central nervous system, and the internal state of inflammation. When your forehead wrinkles or your jaws clench, the brain understands that war is still ongoing and never dares to command cellular recovery. Notice if your face is softening even before anxious thoughts settle. Relax the eyebrows, the eyes, and especially the jawbone. When your face radiates the serenity of a late blooming lotus, that is when the internal alarm is officially turned off and the healing flow begins to pour most strongly through your every blood vessel. Wisdom on longevity and the true nature of time. Have you ever wondered why some people go through many seasons of storms, yet their faces still radiate a fresh brilliance like a budding flower, while others just entering youth carry a soul heavy with decay? The profound truth is that old age is not the result of physical time passing, but the consequence of friction and accumulated damage within this form. In the wisdom of sages, longevity does not come from trying to hold on to years, but from learning to live in harmony and protecting the life force from 3 silent destructive mechanisms that the breath of the soothed fire can miraculously transform. The first mechanism is extinguishing the fire of chronic inflammation, the source of all frailty in joints and internal organs. Imagine your body like a precious wooden house. If the fire of stress smolders in the fibers every day, no matter how beautifully you paint the outside, the internal frame will gradually rot and collapse. By practicing the 4-1-6 breath, you are sending in a cool stream of water to soothe the heated state of cells, helping the defense system stop attacking itself. The second mechanism is preventing cellular rusting, or aging. Imagine a green leaf. If exposed for too long to the harsh heat of anxiety and rapid breathing, it will quickly become withered and brittle. Every short, shallow breath we take unconsciously is a moment we accelerate the rusting process within our vessels. The monk's technique slows down negative chemical reactions, like coating precious machinery with protective oil to prevent erosion. The third and most important mechanism is releasing the fatigue of your nervous system century. Old age appears most clearly when the nervous system is exhausted from maintaining a red alert for too long. When you breathe to the rhythm of the soothed fire, you are officially giving that century a true vacation, so he can lay down his weapons and start tending to the garden instead of staring outside in fear. Understand that time does not make you old. It is resistance and internal storms that take away your youth. Creating a still lifestyle through daily rituals. Imagine each of your days is a piece of precious silk, and mindful breaths are the golden threads weaving the most stable piece for this form. Do not just consider the previous technique an occasional exercise. Weave it into the very breath of life through 2 core rituals. The first important ritual is the moment of dawn. When you have just opened your eyes and consciousness is still pure, I invite you to courageously gift yourself exactly 5 sacred minutes before your hand touches the phone or the noise of the outside world floods your chest. Right on your bed, perform the step of warming the life force center to wake up the intelligence of every cell. Choosing to meet yourself before meeting the world establishes an invisible shield against stress from the start. The second ritual, the most miraculous time for revival, is the quiet period before you sink into deep sleep. Turn your bedroom into a sanctuary of recovery where all burdens of the day are shed at the door. This is when you practice the full 4-1-6 rhythm to send the final message to the body that all defenses can stop to make way for cellular overhaul. When you go to sleep in an inner environment of equanimity and emptiness, each hour of rest brings many times more recovery value than a sleep fitful with anxiety. Additionally, utilize short pauses after meals or gentle walks. Instead of rushing back to work after eating, take 2 minutes to breathe gently, helping the digestive system work in silence. As you walk, consider each foot touch a beat of soothing, letting joint aches dissolve with each mindful step. By performing these rituals regularly, you are not creating a new task, but actively removing unnecessary noise, so the symphony of life can resonate most clearly. Identifying signs of revival and the process of change. When you begin to sow the seeds of the breath of the soothed fire, a natural urge is to see instant results, but be patient. For the true revival of the body temple follows the most quiet and humble rhythm in the world. Deep healing never announces itself with loud trumpets. It only whispers through the most subtle shifts in your consciousness and flesh. Do not be impatient for spectacular overnight changes. Instead, notice small signals through new sensations. The first sign may be waking up and feeling your chest is a bit more spacious. Or, when facing a sudden trouble at work, the irritable reflex suddenly softens to make room for a moment of equanimity and wisdom. You may find your daytime breath becomes deeper and freer without effort, or the heavy feeling in your joints begins to fade like mist in the morning sun. These are living proofs that your defense system has truly begun to trust in safety and allows the recovery flow to pour persistently in the background. Avoid pressuring yourself by comparing your progress with anyone else. Each form is a garden with its own blooming rhythm. There will be days of radiant energy and days when fatigue still lingers. Do not judge your practice as a failure. Remember that healing is never a straight lineup. It is a silent accumulation of moments where you choose to let go of resistance and trust life's intelligence. The journey of discovering the breath of the soothed fire is now gently closing, like a sunset yielding to the vast silence of the night. Carry these shares as a gentle warmth enveloping your soul. There is a profound truth I want you to engrave in your heart. Your body temple only truly performs its most miraculous healing at the exact moment when your mind is truly settled. Healing is never a race or a weary coercion of will. It is a natural state when all internal resistance is fully released. Always remember that this sacred breath is the true home you can always return to amidst the storms of life. No matter how the world is disrupted or how this form speaks through persistent aches, as long as you return to the mindful inhale and exhale, you have stepped through the gateway of absolute safety. Breath is not just an exchange of gases. It is the link to the great source of life force and evidence that you are always unconditionally protected and loved by the vast universe in every moment of existence. If the space of Daily Dharma Light brings you a sense of support, I would be honored to invite you to sow more good affinity by subscribing to the channel so we can continue together on this meaningful journey of awakening. I invite you to gift yourself the privilege of returning to this quiet space every day. Do not pressure the process. Sustainable revival is woven from small, persistent breaths of absolute trust in life's intelligence. At this moment, when all effort has ended and only vast silence remains, I wish you health in body and peace in mind. May every step you take bloom with the lotus of peace and freedom. Be present here in your own tolerance, and let the recovery flow perform its miracle in this silent darkness. Peace in body and mind. Goodbye, and see you in the next journeys of awakening.